What's up, Blurry gang? I'm back with another tutorial. Today we're going to be doing a mid-drop fade. We're going to be keeping the hooks, and I'm going to do a number 3 guard on top. We're also going to enhance his hairline at the end and hit it with a curl sponge for a little style. So right now I got my number 3 guard on, and I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that the top of his hair is all even. Especially with curly hair, you want to go against the grain and with the grain, so you hit the curls from both directions. That way you know that it's going to be an even cut. So now I'm going to go ahead and make my first guideline. I'm going to do this no guard open, lever all the way open. So if this is the first time you're watching a tutorial, when the lever is all the way open, the clipper cuts at a longer length, as opposed to when it's closed, it cuts closer and shorter. So now with my first guideline in, I'm going to go ahead and create my second guideline about ½ an inch under it, but parallel to it, by closing up my lever and just going ahead and creating that line. Alright guys, so right now you see me use my blade flush. That is because I am establishing a guideline. When I want to blend out a guideline, I only use the corners of my clipper, which are the end 3 teeth of the blade. Reason being is that actually allows you to blend the line out instead of just raising it higher and higher and higher using a flush blade. A pro tip I want to give is when you're doing clipper strokes and you're fading, you never want to be moving your shoulder at all. I kind of lock my shoulder in place and only use my wrist and my fingers. This way it's more ergonomic. You're not blowing your shoulder out, you're not hurting your rotator cuff. If you're serious about cutting hair and you're going to do this for years, this is definitely something that I think you should adopt, is to only use your wrist and your fingers. So right now we're just finishing up establishing that second guideline, no guard closed, ½ an inch under our first. And now I'm going to go ahead and use my lever play technique. So if this is the first time you're watching my tutorial, lever play means moving the lever up and down, open and close, in between open and close, doing whatever it takes to take that guideline out without passing your guide. So as you can see, we're blending out a guideline, so I'm using a lot of my cornering technique. Like I said before, cornering is when you're only using the end 3 teeth of your clipper blade, and this helps to not raise your guideline and just blend it out. So for lever play, you want to start longer and work your way down. So that means starting with your lever open and just working your way down to close until that line is out. Again, I'm using a lot of just my wrist and my fingers, creating that C-scooping motion. The reason that this is a blending motion is that it cuts flush, which is closer, shorter, and it scoops out to a longer, transitioning into that longer length and creating that blend. Taking out this guideline is extremely crucial in a bald fade or any skin fade, because this is the transitioning line into guards. So into guard lengths, basically, it's our door to connecting skin to the longest length in the fade. Right now I have my 1.5 guard on, and I have my lever all the way open, and I'm just going to go ahead and create the base to my fade. If this is the first time you're watching my tutorial, what I mean by the base in a fade is it's the longest length that you plan to blend into. So after I'm done setting the base to my fade, the longest length of my fade, I'm just going to go ahead and continue to fade down using my 1 guard. I'm starting with my lever open, and I'm just going to work it through the motions. If this is the first time you're watching my tutorial, what I mean by taking something through the motions is open to middle to close the lever, and those 3 steps collectively I refer to as the motions. So right now we got our lever open, and after I'm finished with the open, I'm going to go to middle, and then I'm going to go to close. And this whole time I'm using my cornering technique and continuing that scooping seed motion. After I'm finished all that, I'm just going to go ahead and flip my clip over and go with the grain to lay the hairs down. Alright, so to complete our fade, we're going to go ahead and continue to fade down using our half guard, starting open, using our cornering technique and our C-strokes. We're just going to go ahead and fade out that last line. So as you can see, the no guard open guide was extremely crucial because it was a bridge from the half guard into trimmers, essentially skin. So definitely make sure you take out that first guideline, because you're going to get to it and it's still not going to be a fade if that line is there. So as you can see, I'm paying a lot of attention to brushing the hair back into place in between clipper strokes. The reason being is because curly hair will move after you cut it, so you always want to put it back in its place so you can cut it against the grain. Alright, so moving on to the other side, we're going to go ahead and repeat those exact same steps, starting with our 1 guard open, taking through the motions all the way to close. Alright, so since we've seen the exact same steps on the other side, I'm just going to go ahead and speed up the process on this side. Kind of use this side as a refresher to solidify the system in your head. Alright, so it's continuing to fade down. I'm just going to go ahead and slap my half guard on and start open and take it all the way down to just before close. The reason being is because I feel personally half guard all the way close cuts shorter than no guard open. So if we did close, just based on what I said, we'd be raising our fade. guys, so now that we're done with our fade, I'm going to go ahead and pick up my hitters and begin to edge them up. So whenever you're lining up, you want to make sure that you give a sharp, natural line. I emphasize natural because if you push them back, you'll start growing within days and ruin the entire freshness of your haircut. Make all the work you did on the fade kind of pointless, because the haircut will start to grow really bad. So I'm starting with the hook, and then I'm going to go ahead and just line up the rest of his hairline. And the main tip I could say is line up the front hairline based on your client's perspective. So that's how they see themselves in the mirror. You want to look at that from that perspective and make sure that the hairline is boxed out perfectly symmetrical to that perspective. Another tip when you're doing lineups is to always have a guide. Right now you see me using my middle finger as a guide on his forehead. This allows me to pivot along the hairline and really get those curves around the C-cup. Having my finger as a guide makes me a lot more comfortable and stable with the trimmer. One more tip when lining up is you want to come down on the hair. Not directly on it, you want to come down on it. So that means coming from up and pressing down. After we're done with our hitters, we're going to go ahead and pick up our straight blade and go over all the line work we just did. What this is going to do is knock down the hair that we cut with the trimmers from stubble to skin, and that's going to really define your line and make it pop out. Some tips when using a straight blade: stretch the skin firmly in one direction, pass the blade across or against the grain in the opposite direction, and that will give you the sharpest cut, closest cut. I like to keep my blade as close to flush as possible to the skin. I would say like a 30-degree angle, 45 degrees, some people do, but I like to stay real close to the skin, real flush. This gives me a smoother pass. After we finish with the straight blade, I'm going to go ahead and pick up my BLURRY brand cordless airbrush. This cordless airbrush allows me to seamlessly apply semi-permanent dye like Kiss. I have a Kiss Express semi-permanent dye mixture in it right now, and I'm just go ahead and enhance this hairline, make it darker. And what it does is it stains the hair and the skin, so it will last for a few days as opposed to fibers. So after I'm done with the airbrush, I think I also applied some BLURRY hair building fibers around the boxes to make it stronger. So I'm just going to go over all that with the trimmers and make sure it pops. Alright, so just to recap on what I use for enhancements, because I know I'll get a lot of questions about this. I use the BLURRY brand cordless airbrush to apply semi-permanent dye, and on top of it I use some BLURRY brand hair building fibers, and now I'm just cleaning it out with my hitters. If you guys are interested in buying any of these products to add enhancements to your service, I'm just going to go ahead and leave the link in the description box below. finally, I'm going to style my client using a curl sponge. He only has a number 3 on top, but this will give him that little texture that he needs to just kind of put the cherry on top of this haircut. Alright guys, so that's going to conclude my tutorial for today. We learned how to do a mid-drop fade, keeping the hooks with a number 3 on top, and finished it off with a little curl action using a curl sponge. We also enhanced his hairline today. So let me know what you guys think in the comments, what you guys want to see next. Comment, like, subscribe. Blurry out of here.